Hello UBC Waste Notes, I'm Shinawi, and in this video we're going to cover the precaution of using an injection molder and the safety procedure behind it. When using an injection molder, you're going to need a lab coat, the safety goggles, and a headset, just in case for the noise that's done by the compressor, and of course the heat resistant glass. So once again to the lab, I would recommend you to plug the injection molder and displays connections to the outlet, because it takes time for the injection molder to heat up, and this will save the time for performing the experiment. So before you do the experiment, you should know which material you're going to be using, and in this demonstration I'm going to use polypropylene. As you can see here on the table, it says for polypropylene we should have a bed temperature of 460 Kelvin and 475 Kelvin. So the first one would be for the barrel, and the other one will be the nozzle. If you're not pressing anything, the display that's showing is the current temperature, and when you want to press on it, it will show you what is the desired temperature, which already set to 460, and by pushing the dial left or right you can adjust. And then now we wait. While we're waiting for the injection molder to heat up, you can prepare the mold that you want to print. So right now for this demonstration I'm going to print a wave. But in the cabinet here you have many other molds, and of course in this bucket we also have so many others, so you can be creative, but of course you're printing a specific design, so maybe later. So one thing to make sure is that you're going to use this mold as a base, because it has an extruder here, which I'll identify why we want that later. Then you want to construct your mold, and to make sure that the openings all lead to the wave model. So right now I have the base, I have like a closed sheet that all the multiplastic focus on forming a wave shape, and then I cover it with that and make only one point, which will be through here. And then the nozzle, you have to make sure you're going to use this nozzle because it has enough opening for the plastic to go through. If you have a small nozzle, it'll be much harder given at the given pressure we're going to be using, and I would recommend you to go high, because if you go high it'd be dangerous. Once you make sure it's aligned, then you have your mold ready, and the next step would be placing the plastic into the injection molder. Right. Now that the injection molder has heated up to 465 and 490, the injection molder is now ready to be used. So now we inject the plastic into the injection molder. One thing to keep in mind is when using the injection molder, it's better to use to know how much plastic you're going to need by measuring it using the method we have here, and then you can add a bit more excess. Just to make sure that, because if we're going to use the injection molder many times, the plastic remaining in there might get burned, and that might form a blockage inside and becomes an issue when cleaning it up. Because what the injection molder is doing is just melting the plastic, but not completely, and through repeated melting and exposure to high temperatures it might actually burn. So now you just remove the grate, and using a spoon, but never use your hand, you'll be injecting some here, and make sure you push it enough for the nozzle. Okay, and for safety procedure you need to close the orange gate till the end till you heat the clay, because if not, then while the mold is pressing, some plastic might come up from the side. Okay, and now we're going to insert the mold on the table, and make sure that you want the nozzle of the mold to be in line with the nozzle and the piece on the table. If the opening of the mold is not in line with the nozzle, then the high pressure will be trying to pushing through some metal, which can force some dents on the nozzle and would damage or might even explode. So now we add the model, and you might have some excess plastic coming off from the nozzle. That's okay, but you can remove it off, but you have to make sure that you have to be wearing the heat resistant gloves, and it's really hot. Now you have to align the mold and make sure that the center of this from the base one is in line. You can use it as a reference point, and now come align the rest of the mold. You could also rely on from your point of view, whether it looks in line or not. Okay, now it's aligned, we close orange grate. And now we have the mold inside. The injection mold is completely heated up, and we have the plastic inside. All that's left is to supply the pressure using the compressor. So the knobs here have already been turned such that when I adjust the pressure, the clamp pressure will go up to 14 and the that pressure will go up to 12. This pressure are enough for the experiment the weightments we are going to perform, so you don't have to change the target pressure. When operating the compressor, I recommend you to use the headset since it gets noisy, but it's not required. So when operating it, first on you increase the pressure in the tank and then lead it to the outlet. So when you're trying to increase the pressure in the tank, make sure the knob is pressed in, which makes it locked. When you're trying to increase the pressure to the outlet, you pull it up and then move in the direction you want to increase it in. And then after you're done, you close it in again. And now we're going to inject the pressure inside. Oh, and before that, make sure you connect the compressor to the outlet. Okay. So the targeted pressure for the tank should be 150 psi. You shouldn't go higher than that since it seems to be dangerous. And now that you have enough pressure in the tank, you open the valve and then slowly inject pressure inside. The pressure in the outlet should go between 100 and 120 is the highest you can achieve. Okay, now we achieve, we close it in, and as you can see, the pressure here has increased to 14 psi and here has increased to 12 psi. Now we're ready to perform the injection molding. And now everything is done. Now we perform the injection molding. So we push this clamp to push the table up so that everything is in line. As you can see, the nozzle completely disappeared, so everything is perfectly okay. And this one will be for injecting it. So usually, like when you're using injection molder, one injection won't be enough, so you might have to do more than one. And since you're using excess, and that's why I said you might want to add excess, and you might approximate how much injections you're gonna need. If you add some extra, it's okay rather than having not enough injections. And when you inject, you're gonna wait 5 to 7 seconds after injection, and then put it back, and then repeat it again. Now we take it off. And since the weight model I'm using is small, approximately one injection is going to be enough. So another thing also to keep in mind is that the volume injected can be high. So in this case, the depth, like the dimensions of the plastics needed to form the shape was too small. So the excess plastic is now has overflow and has caused this shape on the nozzle. This is shown here. But first I'll have to cool it off by running it under cold water. Okay. And the moment of truth, we have our wave shape. But this is because we have to have excess of plastic on it, we might have to do some cleaning. So now that we have taken out the model, the wave, we see that there's some excess power that was like due to the high pressure of pressing on the clamp, and the clamp itself was originally blocked, which is the one I've removed right here. So using the sandpaper, some pilot, I was able to clean it. And you can either use sandpaper here manually, or you can just like turn it on. But if you're gonna turn it on, I recommend you either way to just wear gloves and keep on the safety goggles on. And yeah, that's the final product. And before leaving the lab, make sure you remove the outlet for the compressor, the thermostat, and the injection molder, and turn off the fume hood and close the windows, because if you're gonna smell the smell the plastic while performing the experiment, the fume hood should be turned on so it doesn't disturb the other teams in nearby rooms. And that's it.